Hey, friends, happy Tuesday to you, and welcome to Private Club Radio. We've got a really cool show for you. I'm going to be chatting with Sharon Provins of Birch Road. She's going to tell us about her really unique concept that's in the wine space and the membership space. And I think we're going to have some interesting lessons out of that one. Before we bring Sharon on, just a couple of quick announcements. I'm going to be in the UK here very soon. In fact, next week on Thursday, September 9th, at Villa Park, we'll be giving a presentation to the Club Management Association of Europe. I'd love to see you if you guys are in the UK. If you're watching from the UK, would love to see you out there. We're gonna have a good time there at Villa Park. Registrations at CMAE there, and we're gonna have some fun. I want to thank our sponsors of this show. I want to give a big thanks to Peter Nanula and his team at Concert Golf Partners, who provide capital solutions for private clubs all across the country. I want to give a big shout out to Brian Capstone, Brian of Capstone Hospitality, I should say. And Capstone Hospitality helps clubs with their marketing. So if you're in need of membership development and marketing, Brian and his team, Brian Friedrichs, those are the folks to reach out to. You can find them at capstone-hospitality.com. And a big thank you to the National Club Association, friends of this show. We'll be having one of their board members on here in the coming weeks, chatting about the tournament that was held at the Olympic Club and all sorts of good stuff coming at you soon. So make sure to stay tuned here on Private Club Radio. But today we're going to have a little fun with Miss Sharon Provins of Birch Road. Sharon, let me get you on here. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
It's good to see you. I'd love to just give us the concept. Tell us how this idea originated and what it is you guys are doing there.
Sure. So Birch Road is a new kind of private club. It's very unique. We are your neighborhood clubhouse that's 100% BYOB. The concept started in 2013. And like all good ideas, it started over a bottle of wine with my business partner, Kim. We have
Was
a
there a
very
napkin,
long,
like literally a napkin, Sharon?
literally napkins with wine stains and a pen. My business partner, Kim, we have a very long friendship. We've known each other since we were 9, and we met on Birch Road. It was the street
Nice.
that we grew up in, a small suburb of Chicago. And the story is basically after, we were in our 30s, and Kim at the time had 2 small children. And we were sitting in our kitchen getting ready to catch up after not seeing each other for about a year. And, Kim didn't want to stay home. I mean, who wants to stay home when you've got toddlers at home and you've got a friend in town and you want to go out? And we opened a really nice bottle of wine and we realized there was nowhere for us to go. We weren't really hungry, so we don't want to go to a restaurant. We weren't really wanting to do the bar scene. We'd already opened something that we really loved. And we didn't belong to any private clubs. So, um, we just started thinking like, why isn't there anywhere to go outside of your home or your office? Getting together has to be such a hassle. So we thought of this idea. Why can't we just have a clubhouse where you can meet people, meet friends, host, entertain, and it's super easy. And there's no pressure of buying something or having a meal or, this pressure of ordering drinks all night. It's just a space for you to catch up with friends. So that's
I
the
love it.
concept of Birch Road.
Yeah, that's very cool. Um, Now it's BYOB, which that in and of itself is very interesting. Do you guys provide food? Do you provide entertainment? What happens in your in the experience that the people are going to have when they walk into Birch Road?
Yeah, so the experience actually starts at the front door. All of our clubs have fingerprint entry. So there's something about when members let themselves in that they automatically feel like they're at home, right? There's no hostess or someone that you have to check in with. It really feels like you're home away from home. So we do provide everything except for the booze. And we're 100% BYOB. So members are welcome to order in and Uber Eats just like they would at home. We have members who put together cheese plates. We've got all the mixers, all the cocktail tools, decanters, glassware, plateware, really everything that you would need to enjoy a night out or host with friends. And to make it even easier, all of our members get a locker in our temperature controlled cellar to store their favorite wine or beer, whiskey, really whatever their little bar cart would be.
Interesting. That it turned out that your the way your concept is developed, that it kind of worked well for post pandemic life. So tell us why it worked so well.
It did. It's almost as if we had a crystal ball that there was a global pandemic coming. So, like I said, we are contactless. So, we don't have a restaurant, we don't have a full service bar like many private clubs do. And we don't have any servers or wait staff. So, that immediately, kind of from an operational perspective, was super easy because we just didn't have to deal with that. And our seating has always been, pretty separate because we love the idea of being able to host a group and not have loud music or people walking over you or being crammed into one little space. There's definitely a time and place for that, and we all love those, moments at crowded bars and loud music. But Birch Road is really a place where you come and you talk all night. No distractions. We don't have any TVs. So in a post-pandemic world where people are craving community and craving, social contact with people, without being in crowded places, Birch Road actually ended up being, a great haven for those members.
How do you weave the new members in an environment like that where there's not necessarily a lot of touch points for the staff? How do you get members acquainted with each other? How do you make them feel like they're part of the family there at the club?
Yeah, well, so our clubs are small, right? So we only accept a few hundred members at each club. So that's going to be smaller than, I mean, think back to when you were like in high school, you knew every single person's name, and it really felt like a community. So keeping the club small is, our first line of, community. But we also do a lot of member driven events. So as we get to know members, we kind of figure out what their interests are, what people might be into. So, in addition to sort of like club wide events that we do, we have, I don't know, over a dozen sort of mini groups. We call them the club within the club.
Yeah.
And these are member driven groups, whether it's game club or wine club. We've got a cocktail club, a rum club, a whiskey club. I mean, any kind of club. And it's interest based. And it's a great way for people to kind of socialize with others and meet people within, a social circle that they are not normally a part of, and kind of geek out over a shared interest.
So how do I, if let's say I'm a brand new member and I walk in, how do I get to know what clubs you have and those sorts of things? Do you have, what sort of communication do you put out there? How do you make it available to them?
Yeah, so we have a member newsletter that goes out every other Friday with what's going on at the club and our latest obsessions and some neighborhood news. And then we also have a members only Facebook group. And then most members are finding out about what's going on at the club through our Birch Cellar app. So it's a members app where they can look at events, make reservations, and kind of get the lay of the land at the club.
In
So the
some way,
onboarding it's really easy. I think I always say this, like the first time somebody comes to the club after they sign up, and mind you, we're not always staffed, and they're at the club alone. We encourage them. We're like, look through every drawer, look in the cupboards, find the glassware, find out where everything is. And it's almost like you've just moved in or expanded your living room, right? And you need to
nice.
figure out where everything is. And then it just kind of happens naturally from there. And when there are other members there, like I said, we're pretty small. People are really like, hey, haven't seen you around before. What are you drinking over there? Wanna have a taste of this? I just got this amazing wine from Napa and would love to share it with you. And so it's super organic how members get to know each other.
Any secret bookshelves or any secret compartments there?
Well, they wouldn't be secret if I told you.
That's cool though. So there are maybe some surprises if you walk in and you look around. There might be something to find. No?
Yeah, our spaces are very unique. We have 3 locations currently, and we personally, Kim and I designed them personally, each one, and we really put in a lot of thought. Again, with when you're operating a private club that is not staffed, right? You have to rely on smart design so that your members have a great experience. So we're super intentional about where we place everything, super intentional about all of our, you know, our furniture, our layout, the way things, the flow of the club. So, and each club also represents the neighborhood. So, while I think, if you think of like an airport lounge, it doesn't matter what country you're in, they all kind of look the same, right?
Yeah, they're sterile.
Birch
Yeah.
Road is really different. It's, we have 3, but they're also uniquely designed and represent the neighborhood that we're in.
Do you actually think of ways then when you're going through that design process on like ways to have members bump into each other or sort of cross paths along the way?
Yeah, so each of our clubs have sort of this, kitchen island type feel and that's always where people congregate. When you have a house party, when you've got people
Sure.
over, people are always congregating
It drives me
around.
crazy when I host a house party because I'm trying to cook or something and there's everyone's
Yeah,
standing around.
totally.
No, but I
Um,
get it. If that's naturally what
yeah,
we do. Yeah.
yeah. So each of our clubs has kind of like a social area. We also have a private dining/conference room in each of our clubs for those who want a little more privacy, or maybe they're hosting a meeting, and don't want to be a part of the area. And then we've got these little living room sections, right, that make it super comfortable for you to, host and entertain guests, but then also, say, hey, if someone's walking by, hey, you want to have a seat and have a drink with me?
Right.
It's pretty easy. Yeah.
I
So
love that.
our design is very intentional. We do
Very
think
cool.
about those things.
I love what maybe you're walking by and someone says, "Hey, have a sip of this." Any rare titles or anything that do you have? Maybe people bring something that's really special, any special bottles or anything like that come through?
We do. So we like to say that much of our member base is their bevies. So that, the beverage version of a foodie.
Sure.
And they really love something, right? Whether it's wine, or we've got our whiskey nerds, we've got people who are really into tequila or mezcal. So I like to argue that even though we aren't a bar, we probably store some of the best collections in our city when you think about it collectively among our
Sure.
members.
Right.
They've been collecting for a while, and they're seeking it out, right? This is a hobby for them. This is something that they're truly enjoying. And that's sort of the beauty of it, right? Because when you go to, a bar, you're not necessarily going to see that rare item that you've been wanting to try, right? But you have it
Sure.
at home. You just don't have anywhere to drink it, right?
Mm,
And those kinds of special bottles and rare bottles are often better when you share them with other people who appreciate them, right? Instead
right.
of just pouring yourself a glass and turning on Netflix. So Birch Road is definitely a place where people will geek out over their special bottles.
I love that. That sounds very cool. Are most of the events member driven, or do you guys? How about like from the early days, especially? Were you guys having to sort of steer people in a certain direction or kind of lead things, or did members naturally just sort of start doing their own thing?
There was a lot of trial and error. Kim and I joke that we built the club for ourselves and then we just let other people in. um, so there's definitely a lot of trial and error. We've had some events that went great. I remember our first event ever was an oyster shucking class and lesson, and it was actually wonderful to see people have an oyster for like a raw oyster for the first time at the club. That was really fun to watch. Um, but we've had other events that we thought are great, and maybe there wasn't as much interest. So we really keep a close pulse on what members want. In Seattle, we started this new thing called Sunday Fun Day, and those are 100% member driven. So a member will come to us with an idea. Our most unique idea so far was a butter tasting. There's a whole world of
Interesting.
butter out
Like
there. I
almond
had no
butters and different
idea.
nut butters, or different types of just
No,
regular dairy butter.
like dairy butter. Like there's
Wow.
a whole world of them, like cheese. Like
Sure.
there's
Huh.
French
I
butter
know
and
that, honestly.
Italian
That's so
butter,
cool.
and I mean the different like fat content. I mean, I had no idea
Wow.
there was
You learn
so
more
much
about
of
butter
them.
than you ever wanted to know.
Totally. So we did a blind butter tasting. That was sort of
Really?
this concept that this member came up with, and it was wildly popular. And
Yeah.
it's like, how often do you get to go somewhere and taste 7 different kinds of butter and learn something new?
Yeah, right. Do you find that the events that are member driven, they take more of an onus on, for it, and those are more successful, or are they about the same? What would you say?
Um, they're both successful. They're different, right? I mean, it's a great way to engage members and give them the freedom and like the, I guess, platform to do something that they've always wanted to do. I mean, we live in a world, especially in the cities that we're in, where our housing is getting smaller and smaller, right?
Sure.
And to live in a city, um, like Seattle or Chicago, like the days of having a big, huge apartment in the middle of the city is kind of over, right? So being able to give members the opportunity to host and entertain the way they would if they had a huge space at home to host and entertain with is really a joy. So yes, they do take ownership when that happens. Like when a member is hosting their own, cocktail club, like, you feel like I know that I'm in the club, but you feel like I just walked into their kitchen and they're like cutting up
Right.
limes and, you
Sure.
know, putting out strawberries because they're really taking pride and ownership of putting this together
Right.
for their guests.
Yeah, because it's their kind of ass on the line, for for lack of a better term. Like I've dealt with a lot of clubs, and they say, hey, we've tried a number of things. Sometimes they work well the first time, it gets stale and boring, and people don't show up.
Yeah,
And or they create these great ideas, and there's so many talented people in this industry with really creative ideas, and it just for whatever reason doesn't take off. But I've found that when members really, you say, hey, okay, you're going to be the chairman of this event, or you're going to be the MC or something, or you're going to host this night at the club. Those
yeah,
events seem to do really well because, listen, they're going to their friends like, hey, you got to be here on Friday morning.
totally. Totally. I mean, there's definitely that of members supporting each other. But there's also just, it, it's almost like because we've been in the industry for so long and we follow it so closely, sometimes we have blinders on.
Sure.
Honestly, I don't think that I would have thought of a butter tasting on my own.
Yeah, right. That's
So
unique.
you're getting a whole world of, you're getting insight into people's interests and what
Right.
they want to do. So it's great. It's the
I always say
diversity that matters.
there's a geek for every anything out there that you could think of.
Totally.
Just out of curiosity, was the butter on bread? How was the butter actually served?
So it was BYO baguette. So people brought their favorite baguette or their favorite bread, which was a whole nother thing, like
Sure.
started
There's got to be like
whole
butter
other
pairings at that point,
conversations.
right? Like this butter goes better with this type of bread, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Totally. And we had a toaster, and, everyone walked around and tried different butters. We had one, like I said, we tasted them blind. And they were, I mean, there's a whole price range of butters too. So there are some
Yeah.
butters that were like $30 a pound, which is crazy. That's like a steak.
Wow.
And then we had, I can't believe it's not butter. So it was kind of fun to see members taste the different butters and try to guess what's what, which one was a fancy French butter and which one was the, grocery store butter.
I love that though. Just unique ideas that are so different and outside the box,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's very very interesting. If folks are thinking about joining a club like yours, and well, actually, let's first talk about your expansion. So you're in three places right now. Two in Chicago and one out on the West Coast. Is that right?
Correct. In Seattle, which is my current hometown.
Nice. And then what are your plans to expand this concept?
So one, thing that makes us a little bit different than most private clubs is that we're not in city centers. So when you think about urban private clubs, a lot of them are like right in the central business
Right.
district.
Yep.
Um, we are intentional in being in neighborhoods of cities. So all three of our locations are in different neighborhoods, and we really love it because we want to be where people live and be an extension of their home. So based on this, we believe that every neighborhood needs a neighborhood clubhouse, especially now. The world is so polarized right now. Social media has kind of taken over daily interactions and human interaction. And so having that neighborhood club like they used to have in the old days is really going to bring back community and diversity, and really like people should know their neighbors. Like the fact
Agreed.
that we don't do that anymore is crazy. So yeah, we feel like any neighborhood, small or big,
Mhm.
is needs a Birch Road in their life.
Nice. Yeah, I think it works well because if for the suburban feel, especially if you want it to feel like they're gathering around the island in their kitchen or something like that, that makes total sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing more tried and true than getting to know people over a drink.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little bit different. So like, if you think about the history of private clubs, um, there were so many in the fabric of American history. I think in New York City alone, like in the early 1900s, there's like 200 private clubs. Like back then there was like your bowling league, the VFW, a knitting club. Like there's all these kinds of community clubs. And as modern times came about, people opted for country clubs and um, the business based clubs, um, which are great. There's definitely a time and place for them. But Birch Road is different because we don't have any specific requirement. Like we're not saying, okay, join this club because you want to network in your industry, or join this club because you love golf. Our ethos is join this club because you need a neighborhood club and somewhere, a third place, somewhere to go, and that's not your home or your office, and a bar or restaurant.
And you say people do work and things from there as well. They actually set up in it's almost a co-working space in the afternoons.
It is. I would say it's more like the coffee shop alternative,
Got it. Yep.
which has really worked well for us again in COVID.
Sure.
Everyone's working from home. I don't, so many companies have decided that regardless of the pandemic, working from home is
Right.
fine.
Yep.
And, I think for some people that really works well, but for others who still want to meet in person, or maybe you're in sales or you need to meet clients, like you're not going to invite them over to your house. So Birch Road is sort of this perfect place that's within your neighborhood, right? And there's no pressure of having to order, have a full business lunch, right? You can come and hang out on our comfy couches and do the work that you need, and then move on.
Nice. Excellent. So, in terms of like your business model and plans for expansion here into some other neighborhoods in the United States, let's say I'm sitting here in Carrollwood, in North Tampa, and I want to start a Birch Road. Is this something where you're selling a franchise for this concept, or how does it work?
Yeah, we do not. We don't have any plans currently for a franchise, but we do get calls often, actually, from people all over saying, "Hey, I love your concept. You should come to my neighborhood." So we've got this list that's prioritized, and we'll be moving as fast as we can as we grow to continue to open locations one by one.
Excellent. I would. There's a few neighborhoods here in Florida that I'd recommend you get on your list as well. So,
Yes, I would
it'd
love
be fun.
that.
I'd love to walk into a Birch Road here in Florida at some point. It would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're ever in Chicago or Seattle, you must come by because it really is one of those experiences that need to happen in person.
Yeah.
Um, I think, when we talk about some bumps along the road of club ownership. I think that was sort of our biggest barrier, right? We talk about what Birch Road is, and people are like, I don't get it, So you don't have a bar, you don't serve food, like there's no
Yeah.
golf, like you don't get it. And then you walk into the club, you fingerprint in, and you're like, oh, I get it. So it
You gotta
really
be there to
is
see it. You gotta
some,
see it to
yeah,
believe it. Yeah.
it's something you need to see. Yeah.
If folks do want to see it, they want to join one of the clubs there in the neighborhoods that you're already in. How do they find out more about the concept?
Yeah, they can visit us at birchroadcellar.com. And we've got actually virtual tours on our website. So you can take a peek and actually meet our club managers
Nice.
that are at each of the clubs. And like I said, we are, we want to be accessible to the neighborhood. So our price points are very reasonable. It's just a $60 enrollment fee and then $105 to join. And
Very
we are
affordable.
month to month. We don't require annual contracts. We feel strongly that this is something that we want members to be a part of and not lock them in.
They gotta
And
want it. Yeah.
right, they've got to want it and be
Yeah.
a part of it. It just doesn't make sense to lock people into something that they don't want.
I agree. I love that. That's very affordable. Geez, if I was in the Chicago suburbs, that would certainly be something I'd be interested in. I really enjoyed it immensely. Thanks so much for spending some time with us, Sharon. I think
Yeah, thank you for having me.
and I hope folks check out Birch Road. I mean, it sounds like a fantastic concept.
Yeah, well, we may be coming to a city near you. So keep following us. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. And yeah, I would love to see you. I'm jealous that you're going to the UK next week. There's a ton of wonderful private clubs over there.
Oh yeah,
But if you find yourself back in Seattle or in Chicago, please reach out.
certainly will do, Sharon. Thanks so much for joining us on Private Club Radio today.
Thank you. It was great. It was great meeting you.
You too. And stick around because I'm going to talk to you after I end it here with the folks. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. If you've never had a butter tasting, it sounds like you got to try one at your club because that could definitely be a winner. That was my first, and I'm sure it was your first as well. Any rate, I will catch you back here next Tuesday. Like I said, we've got some really good guests coming on here. Tuesdays, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Be there or be square. Until then, here's to your membership success.